So the policy implications, well, it failed. In my opinion, I measured it. So I would challenge someone to come with the same instrument. It's an external instrument, OECD, and measure the results of the policy. Is it a failure or is it a success? I think it's a failure. And also, I think that we are challenging with all the body of work, the dominant portrayal of hesitant healthcare workers as irrational, misinformed, conspiratorial, and right-wing, right? So in my youth, it was being left-wing that was the issue to be attacked. So, my groups, my friends, etc. But of course, I lived under a military dictatorship back in Argentina when I was growing up. So, so whatever construed you as. So, it never occurred to me that you could do exactly the opposite with every single, of these, persecution strategies, right? So, but that's how they're portrayed in the literature, and it's very unprofessional. And of course, it's ideological. It has nothing to do with science. And it's false. It is essentially false, right? These people weren't irrational, were not misinformed, and were raising very, very valid concerns about informed consent, workplace sustainability, underreporting of harms among patients. So, for instance, misattributions after a vaccine of an adverse reaction as being caused by something else. Those are some of the descriptions. Or, for instance, the age of the person, because after all, if you're 60 years old, well, you can have all these things, right? So why bother look at the most immediate potential cause of concern, right? And then major strategies of suppression of dissent in medical science and medical practice. And this is not a new topic. It's a old, topic in the literature, very well investigated by a scholar by the name of Brian Martin, who lives in Australia. He's an emeritus professor now, and I follow his work. So all these things, and this is kind of a little, what I think our work contributes, which is really not rocket science, right? Ethics informed public health, grounded in public health policy, grounded in autonomy and transparency. So this is like saying you have to be transparent about your research, right? It's really not rocket science, but if it's not happening, you have to say it, right? And then very importantly, you have to, the authorities won't do it, but at least the critics, we have to really, really scrutinize the suppression of dissent tactics, particularly when there's conflicts of interest, money, and policymaking, a priori involved. And I think that I owe, my work also to the tremendous amount of information that I have received from, the people who resist these policies throughout Canada, yourself included. So, I've learned an enormous amount from following these folks and not doing anything new. And that's about it, just in terms of the actual data. But I think we can stop there. And unless you want to go over something in particular.
Well, now I have some questions for you, of course. When you were talking about the impacts on patient care, and you made reference to protocols that had been thrown out the window, can you give us some examples?
Well, yes, I can give you an example, but it doesn't actually come from this data set. Let me backtrack a little bit. One would be, you have to inform a patient, they have to grant you permission to implement a practice. That's like across the board, right? ABC. That wasn't happening. It just wasn't happening, right?